Ignore that last message. The Google form message that just dropped in. Ignore the Google form. Here we go. This is break 1260. Break 1260. The 2020-21 Revolution Basketball One Boxer. Basically how a snake works is there's 8 users. We then randomize the draft order. And then it's just like a fantasy football snake. Like if you have the first pick, then you'll have, or if you have the 8th pick, you'll get back-to-back picks because it just reverses the order. Karis Lever of the Nets, Jaylen Brown of the Celtics, Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets, following up with a shockwave, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz headed to Henry. And then we have a Jason Tate RC of the Houston Rockets going to Anthony. Anthony, welcome to BreakTraders. We have 3 people interested in a Chronicles draft pick stake. What's up, Frankie? Chris Paul of the Suns, Norman Powell of the Raptors, Russell Westbrook of the Wizards. Then we're going to have an Alfred Payton Groove of the New York Knicks headed to Michael, followed up by the Shockwave Revolution, Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz going to Henry. Bradley Beal of the Wizards, Giannis of the Milwaukee Bucks, John Wall of the Rockets, a Draymond Green, and that's going to be a Groove Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors going to Brad, and then a Cassius Stanley RC of the Washington Wizards headed to Michael. Kawhi Leonard of the Clippers, followed by Terry Rozier of the Hornets, Eric Gordon of the Houston Rockets, Rudy Gobert of the Jazz. And that's going to be a little bit of an Astro, Rudy Gobert of the Jazz. And then Houston, we have a liftoff, and that is Mr. Anthony Davis of the Los Angeles Lakers going to Michael. Looks like we have 4 people for a Chronicles snake. We need 4 more people for a Chronicles snake draft. Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Mavs, Kelly Oubre Jr. of the Golden State Warriors, Jonas Valanciunas of the Grizzlies. Then we have a Jaden McDaniels RC Astro edition of the Minnesota Timberwolves headed to Michael, and then a Nick Richards of the Charlotte Hornets. Nick Richards of the Charlotte Hornets RC, and that is headed to Michael. 3 packs left in this break. DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns, Drew Holiday of the Milwaukee Bucks, followed by a Devonta Graham, and that is going to be an Astro edition of the Charlotte Hornets headed to Jack, followed by a Vortex, a Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, and that's headed to Henry. And then we're going to have a auto, and that is Wendell Carter Jr. of the Bulls. Wendell Carter Jr. of the Chicago Bulls going to Michael. Chris Middleton of the Bucks, Kyle Lowry of the Raptors, Domantas Sabonis of the Pacers. And then we have a Revolution. That's going to be a Starburst, Sunburst, Trey Jones out of 75 of the San Antonio Spurs. And that is going to Henry. And right behind Trey Jones, we have a little Cole Anthony of the Orlando Magic, also going to Henry. Kevin Durant of the Nets, Carmelo Anthony of the Trailblazers, D'Angelo Russell of the Timberwolves. We have a Grant Riller Fractal RC of the Charlotte Hornets going to Jack. And then we have a Supernova Russell Westbrook of the Washington Wizards headed to Michael. Alrighty, let's run this breakdown. Some veterans. We've got the Rudy Gobert Shockwave Revolution of the Jazz, followed by a Groove Alfred Payton of the New York Knicks. Then we have a Donovan Mitchell Shockwave Revolution of the Jazz, followed by a Groove Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors. Then we have an Astro Rudy Gobert of the Jazz, followed by an Astro Devonta Graham of the Hornets headed to Jack, followed by a Vortex Devin Booker of the Suns headed to Henry, and a Supernova Russell Westbrook of the Wizards headed to Michael. And now our rookie rundown. Grant Riller of the Hornets headed to Jack. That's a Fractal edition. Cole Anthony of the Magic. Jaden McDaniels, Astro of the Timberwolves headed to Michael. Nick Richards of the Charlotte Hornets going to Jack. Cassius Stanley of the Pacers headed to Henry. And then Jashawn Tate of the Houston Rockets headed to Anthony. All right, and now we're into our hits. We have the Liftoff Anthony Davis and the Sunburst Trey Jones out of 75. Trey Jones of the Spurs headed to Henry. Anthony Davis of the Lakers headed to Michael. And then last but not least, we have the Wendell Carter Jr. auto of the Chicago Bulls headed to Michael. And with that, we are done with break 1260. We will be right back with break 1261.